We do not consent.
Now I am totally at the mercy and the control of verbal control, and this isn't being infected on me. There have been times where I've been in the same room as my brother, and I've seen, I've heard the person speaking to me says, watch your brother hold his heart, or watch your brother hold his head, and these people are complaining of headaches, and they're also complaining of heart pain. So when I'm told to do something, if I don't do something, my family's going to be hurt. I know that this is real, even if my family doesn't know this is real. So now I'm forced to do whatever I'm told to do.
And they need sample points. And nobody likes to hear they were randomly chosen for a torture.
Next project, Satan. Silent assassination through amplification of neurons. I was able to interview over 500 people that know they are electronically harassed, slipped drugs, fed radiation, MK Ultra mind controlled, or directed energy weapons test victims. Several have died while writing this book. They range from children to the elderly, from the poor to the wealthy, from religious to atheist, from uneducated to educated. People are chosen at random like in all their other tests. There is a segment that is overwhelmingly large for a random testing pool, and that the government, whistleblowers, FBI agents, military personnel, or cops in particular, are targeted by these weapons if they testify against other government agencies.
There has been a force that is mostly unseen in control of this planet for an extremely long time, and evidence very much suggests that this force is attempting to manipulate the evolution of human consciousness that is currently taking place. It is very likely the same force that first reduced mankind to the impaired state we now find ourselves in, where our pineal gland is closed, thereby cutting us off from our higher senses, and where our DNA is 97% dormant, whereby each person is reduced to operating to only 3% of their actual capability.
Humans, for the most part, don't have a clue. They don't want one or need one either. They're happy. They think they have a good bead on things.
Well, why the big secret? People are smart. They can handle it.
The person is smart. People are dumb, panicky, dangerous animals, and you know it. 1,500 years ago, everybody knew the Earth was the center of the universe. 500 years ago, everybody knew the Earth was flat. And 15 minutes ago, you knew that people were alone on this planet. Imagine what you'll know tomorrow.
This is a man-made motor, a motor so small that more than 6,000 of them would fit on the head of a pin. Welcome to the world of the nanometer, a unit of measure that is 1/billionth of a meter.
If we start at the back of the brain, we've switched off my visual cortex, so made me unable to see things. If we move a little bit forward in the brain, we've interfered with people's ability and my ability to see faces. A little bit further forward, we've interfered with the ability to perform actions. Start moving your finger. It's
quite odd.
It's not your finger anymore.
It's not my finger anymore.
We know that nanoscale materials can enter inside cells, and we know that that could have consequences for health. And so it's incumbent, it's really required that we do research to understand what is the nature of the interaction between new engineered artificial nanoscale materials and living systems, not just cells, but whole living beings.
I don't think he did. He said they spent half a year and $10 billion to optimize the cluster topology. You need to think about cluster topologies. If you want to have these RNA or DNA clusters carry intelligence, carry soul, carry an artificial life form. Then it makes sense. And if you picture this, we are infected with this RNA, and the RNA is forming a cluster of 1 millimeter distances around us. And a cluster like this is able to carry a computer program or an artificial, non-physical structure or being. This structure can hoover through the field, but it also can hoover into us. And this structure knows how to access the light production, and it knows how to access the production of poisons. And it also carries intelligence in itself and has the ability to make decisions. This is something that is just implied by the fact that he said we needed to optimize cluster topology. It's a little bit far out, it's a little bit speculation within this, but it gives me a kind of triggering moment when I listen to the word smart dust. Yeah? I get the feeling that this somehow is related to this capability of these optimized cluster topology to carry intelligence and to make its own decisions.
The microbots are controlled with this neurotransmitter. I think what I want them to do, they do it. The applications for this tech are limitless. Construction. What used to take teams of people working by hand for months or years can now be accomplished by one person. And that's just the beginning.
Different fibers, assembling, disassembling your cells.
What is
this is a molecular machine that walks around in your cells. Right now it's called a kinesin and transports things. So for example, when things want to move around your cells, they don't just float around randomly. They actually actively moved around with little machines, little robots, nanobots that power your cells. What you see here is actually an amazing machine coming out of these little pores, which actually assembles other machines. This is like the factory floor of your cells. It's called a ribosome. It reads your RNA.
See, nanocells are real small. 1,000 times smaller than these dust particulates. You inhale it, they go to work, replicating, spreading like a virus, multiplying in exponentials. 6 months' time, I could have 100 million people converted, ditch diggers, porn stars, and presidents. Not one would be the wiser. 100 million people who buy what I want them to buy and do pretty much damn well anything I figure they ought to do.
While people wait for redemption to be delivered to them via an outside source, the destructive machine of modern civilization continues to grind slowly forward towards its inevitable conclusion. Obviously, it is extremely important for mankind to truly grasp the depths of the problems we are facing and to the peril that our collective failure to deal with things has placed us in. And this peril includes not only the human race, but the entire Earth and all life upon it.
So what you're telling me, every one of us should be in fear of this because every one of us at some point will be targeted?
The technology's advanced that far. That's part of the whole world domination strategy. Control the population from subconsciously to consciously.
You're not still working for them.
No.
You're unequivocally looking me right in the eye right now, and you're telling me you have no more to do with this, and that you're out to expose it?
That's correct, sir.
With your background and what you know, can you give us a hint on what we ought to do?
No.
No. Is it too late?
I actually believe it's too late.
Who are the controllers? I mean, is that our president? The Federal Reserve?
No.
So these are people within our government at a certain level making these decisions, and they're not necessarily our president or our elected officials.
That's exactly right.
And now we've got a motive. Controlling dissenters, controlling the world, controlling you and me. Sleep. 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 Sleep.
Elites, those who can afford to carry out practices such as chemtrails, generally don't eat processed or genetically altered food, and it is extremely unlikely that they are subject to the same rigorous vaccination regime as the general public. If mankind is indeed ingesting nanoparticulates without their general knowledge, then how might such machines be controlled or switched on? In answer to this question, one only needs to realize that it is now a long-established fact that when anything occurs within the human experience, ultimately the information travels around the body electromagnetically. All our five senses, along with any emotional information, is all interpreted by the brain via these electromagnetic signals. Therefore, it is also an established fact that man can be influenced and even controlled via electromagnetism.
Metallic salts have made our air conductive. This means that we and everything around us can transmit and propagate energy. The air is no longer neutral.
I've survived a lot of things, you know. People look at me and they would never ever realize what I've been through, and I don't even want to explain what I've been through, but I can tell you this, that throughout everything that I survived, it's because I remembered love. And there was days where I didn't have anything and I was in the worst situation. I was just a little child, and I would wake up and I'd look at the sun every morning and I just have so much heart love and be so happy and smile, and a person would be like, why are you smiling? And you're not allowed to smile. Why do you smile? And I would explain to them, because I feel love, and that is very, very important to me. All this time I think I have survived because of the fact that my heart is open, and I really do care about people, and I really, really, really see that others, the really sad thing, people aren't working from their heart, they're working from their ego or from other things, and it messes them up. And if everybody would just start opening their hearts and being kind and compassionate and caring, it's not no religion to do those things, it's something normal that we have forgot to do. If we do those more often, the world would be a much better place for us and our children.
It's not about replacing people. It will never work. We need to replace the game.
Stanford Scientology and the CIA. This is from a book by Alex Constantine on psychic spying at the Stanford Research Institute, or CIA, mind control. Quote, concrete evidence that electronic mind control was the true object of study at Stanford Research Institute was exposed by the Washington Post in 1977. The Secretary of Navy at the time, Dr. Sam Kozlov, received a routine briefing on various research projects, including SRIs. As the briefer flashed his chart onto the screen and began to speak, Kozlov interrupted, "What the hell is that about?" Among the glowing words on the projected chart, the section described SRI's work was labeled, quote, ELF and mind control. Now let's assume that Dr. Kozlov, the head of the Navy, knew about this program. ELF stands for extremely long frequency electronic magnetic waves, from the very slow brain frequencies up to 100 cycles per second. The Navy quietly continued to fork out $100,000 for a 2-year project by bionics specialist. The, quote, remote viewing, end quote, team at SRI was really engaged at projecting words and images directly to the cranium. It was not a humanitarian pastime. The project was military, and test subjects are subjected to a lifetime of EM torture, plied with the same thorough disregard for human rights as the radiation tests conducted at the height of the Cold War.